Good morning. I hope you're well. I and if there was a confusion, sorry, I set up the original live and it had the wrong microphone. And um, anyway, so I had to set up another one. So there we go. So today, I really have no idea what we're going to be talking about. Um, well, that's not true. I have a little bit of a sense. About maybe 2 hours ago, an hour and a half to 2 hours ago, I had a wonderful, wonderful experience. Um, and the creator just showed up and, he said, we're going to be, we're going to be talking about finding yourself. And it's such a huge conversation. Um, y- how many people struggle? We struggle with finding ourselves, but mostly we're struggling with finding our happiness. And that's what that's what he really wants to talk about today is, you know, those two things, they go hand in hand. And it's not about remembering what used to make you happy because we've been raised, right? Born into and raised in a world where being our true selves isn't honored. And what the creator really wants to share with you today is in order to find what brings you joy, in order to discover what makes you happy, you have to be willing to explore who you are now. What does that even mean? What does that look like? You know, we've been caught up in a world where there's so many rules on who you need to be, how you need to act, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, that it's funny the way they're showing me. It's like going through a room. It's like a giant building. Your life is like a giant building, and all the walls are padded, and you're just kind of bouncing off all the walls in hopes that something's going to make sense. And so, what he wants you to feel right now in this moment, take a deep breath and just give yourself, even if you only have 2 minutes, just give yourself those 2 minutes to let your body relax. What you want to be doing is really starting to notice how much you're on all the time. You know, we live in a world where, sorry, that's one of my cats who's decided he wants attention today, right now. But ultimately, you're living in a world where you're on 99.9% of your time. That's a lot of time to be on. And even in your spiritual journey, even in trying to find yourself, you're still on. And what that means is you're trying to lead with your mind into discovering who you are. But your mind doesn't hold the answers. Your mind only knows the past. It knows what you've heard, what you've read, what you've seen, and what you've experienced. But all of those things have only ever happened in your past. None of them are in your present. The only thing that's happening in the present is feeling. So even if you're reading a book right now, okay, you may be taking in knowledge, but it's how that book is making you feel that is determining the wisdom that you're gaining. Okay. And what I mean by that is wisdom is a combination of knowledge, so stuff you know, so knowledge and experience. Okay. And until you have the experience, then it's just a bunch of stuff you know. And that's what the creator is wanting you to start to see, is feeling into your dreams and your goals that you have for yourself. And when you feel into them instead of thinking them through, they can start to become more real. Okay. And what happens when things become more real, okay, is that your intention, right? So the secret of the universe, again, we've talked about this, is intention becomes energy, becomes experience. So your intention becomes clear. So the stronger your intention is, then that's when you have the power to actually create energy, right? We don't create energy just by thinking about something. So, for example, okay, let's say you had an argument with someone and you left that argument, and in your head, you're going over it and over and over it, what you could have said, how you could have acted. Oh, you wish you would have had this response. Okay. So, that focus is your overall intention is, I wish I would have been this way and this outcome. So what could I have done to get the outcome that I wanted? Right? So your intention is very strong towards a specific, whew, that was hard for me to say, to get towards a specific outcome. Okay? So what happens is that's the energy you're creating and you're focused on it intensely. Okay? And so then what happens is that's the experience you're going to have. So it doesn't mean that that experience is going to be recreated. It means you're going to have another opportunity where you can do that. Okay. The, the problem with this approach is that most of us are having those conversations in our head as a result of uncomfortable conversations in the first place. And then what's happening is we want to prove our point. And we've been conditioned to need to prove. Okay. And what happens is when you're trying to prove who you are, you're not actually exploring or finding your joy. You're not even working towards what brings you joy because proving yourself will never, ever, ever bring you joy. It will never bring you happiness and it will never bring you peace. Why? Because your whole intention is feeding a deficit in being who you are. So, how can that ever possibly bring you joy? It can't. And that's what so many of us, so we spend what's what we spend our time focused on. And that's what he's asking you to do over the next few weeks is really start to pay attention to what you focus your time on, what you focus your energy on, because that's what you're creating. And if you want to find yourself, then you need to stop focusing on the things that don't bring you joy. Okay. You need to become an explorer. Remember, humanity was created to explore our potential. That's it. And we've forgotten how to explore because we've been taught about all these rules that we need to live in and we need to perform for, right? So, I mean, the moment we're in the education system, or we've been raised by anyone who's come out of the education system, you're already taught you need to perform, right? Then you look at the medical system that says you need to perform the second you walk in the door to prove that you're feeling the way you're feeling to get the attention you need to help you, right? So, yes, it's true, right? So when you're allowing yourself to explore, you're going to actually discover different things that bring you joy. Now, I know in the world that we live in, when we're so overwhelmed and we're consistently coming from a deficit already, right? Whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, if you're in any one of those deficits, trying to explore what makes you happy already you feel lost and you feel overwhelmed. So, what he wants you to know and where he wants you to start is start in just looking at your behaviors every day, right? Looking at what you're doing and is that bringing you joy or not? It's super simple, right? So, a couple weeks it's a silly example, but it's so important because it made a huge impact on my life. So a couple weeks ago, I was tired and I was cranky. I was getting over COVID, and I went for a cup of coffee at about 11 o'clock in the morning. And I love the flavor of coffee. I don't drink it for a lot of reasons, but I went for it. And then I fell into a little trap and I had a cup every morning. And what happened in those 2 weeks is I got more tired and more cranky and more tired and more cranky. And I knew what I was doing. I was choosing to participate in something that seems so small, right? And then again, you have to look at the other side where we're taught from this society's point of view, it's the ritual, the coziness, the comfort of that cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is. And so I consciously saw what I was doing and I chose to make a different choice. And yesterday morning, I chose not to have it. And I woke up today with 90% more energy than I had the last 12 days before. And that's what that's what he means, the creator, when he says pay attention to the choices you're making and how they're impacting your body, right? You know, it's the same as when when we eat sugar, right? Sugar sugar causes traumatic stress to your physical organs and your cells. Every single time we have one hit of sugar, so one bite, your body is in fight or flight mode. It's naturally what happens. But of course, energetically, that's what's happening. But, no one's going to want to prove that because, man, oh man, how many people would be in trouble, right? For saying those words out loud. But when you feel into it, you know that eating sugar makes your body feel that way. Okay. So it's really starting to look at what you're putting in as a conscious choice for who you want to be and how you want to feel, right? So it's not just your conversation, it's not just the words that you're using, right? I think we've talked about this before. I don't really remember, which is a good thing. That means my brain is off. So you're paying attention to a couple things this week. Okay, we're going to start with things that are really easy to notice. So whatever goes in your body, so whether it's going in your mouth, it's going on your skin, those are all things that are impacting your well-being. And your well-being is not just your physical well-being, it's your mental and emotional. Okay? Because everything that occurs in and around you is going to impact how you feel about yourself, right? So, for example, if you have continuous conversations with someone who doesn't make you feel good about yourself, then you need to stop having conversations with that person. And I know that it's tricky, especially if you live under the same roof. So, it's allowing yourself to discover a new way to communicate in those instances, okay? Because finding yourself, right, within a traumatic situation, it isn't impossible. Yes, it is definitely going to be more challenging than someone who doesn't have those obstacles, but it's not impossible. It's a it's a quiet willingness to be willing to see the truth in spite of the fear that's there. Okay? And fear is what makes us retaliate. It makes us hide the truth. It makes us not want to see the truth. So either we're hiding it from someone else or we're hiding it from it ourselves, right? Those are the two dynamics that cause depression and anxiety. And ultimately, that's really important because depression and anxiety are the two things that ensure that we cannot discover ourselves and find our joy, right? Either we're hiding from truth or truth is being, um, what's the word? It's being held from us. So, and this is the world we live in, but it's not worrying about those things right now. What the creator really wants you to know and to pay attention to is what you're doing today to help yourself find more peace in your life so that the joy will come, right? Joy is cultivated by a sense of selflessness towards yourself. And what does that even mean, right? It means you allow what you know you need to become a priority. And we've been taught that making ourselves a priority is a negative. It's a gosh, it's a horrible thing to do, right? But that only exists in a world where competition is the foundation, right? Competitiveness. You have to do it for someone else first before you. All of these things are lies, right? If you're not full, you can't give to anyone else, least of all yourself. It's interesting the way they're showing me. It's like humans are walking around these empty vessels trying to get through the day and do their best while trying to serve others. And it's funny the way they're showing me. It's sad because it's like these empty human physical vessels are walking around sort of banging into each other and bouncing off of each other and there's no balance. There's no fulfillment. And when you feel that way, you can do something, but you have to want to. And I think, well, I feel we get into this trap of being so overwhelmed with guilt and shame that we don't know where to start. And then that becomes overwhelming just thinking about starting. And so that's where the creator says, today, start with how you treat yourself, by what are you putting in your body, and how do you think about yourself? So when your brain wants to judge yourself, when your brain wants to condemn you for doing something, okay, it's recognition that you're the only one on this planet who can see the fullness of who you are, and you're the only one who can let it out and unleash it, so to speak. That's a that's a powerful gift to hold in the palms of your hand, and right now you're being asked to start to discover what that is so it can be released when you're ready, right? And that's the whole point, is when you're ready, okay? There's no race to get there, right? There's no competition. But the biggest thing is, and the biggest goal in all of it, is when you can recognize who you are for who you are, then you allow yourself to start to value who you are as an individual, but as a human being. And that's what humanity needs to come back to. That's what's being restored right now. It's going to take time after being mentally, physically, emotionally abused. You may not think you are, but when we're governed by a system that ensures suppression, regulation of everything, you know, your suffering is palpable. It's immense. It's right there. And whether you can whether you can see it or not, whether you can acknowledge it or not, it's inconsequential. It's there. And right now, what the creator says is it's going to be easier than ever before because the energy has shifted. So we've gone from tearing down the old to rebuilding this new world where humans exist. And that in itself should bring you hope, should bring you faith in the entire creation and existence itself. So now the question is, what do you want to take with you in your new life as you create your foundation? It still may look like your old life, right? That you've been living where you've been tearing down, all the illusions and having to see more truths and see more truth. That's why the last few years have been so uncomfortable, right? Seeing more truths. But now it's recognizing, okay, so that behavior that I've had for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 25, it doesn't matter, 50 years. Is it worth carrying with me for this new life that I'm building? Because if you're secretly beating yourself up, judging yourself, you know, constantly carrying shame and guilt, that's not going to create a foundation that's solid. But when you allow yourself to recognize this is what I'm doing and it makes me uncomfortable, so what am I going to do differently? That's you choosing to empower yourself. You don't need someone else to empower you. You don't need anyone to lift you up. It's your job, but you have to know where to start and what they're asking you to do, what the creator wants you to do, what Jesus, what the goddess is here. There's so many. All the angels are here, right? The first stream who created matter and the second stream who created light and experience and the the vibration of light and experience, which is what allows you to come into this physical world and be human. All of these beings are here. Just close your eyes for a minute and take a few breaths and feel their presence, feel their support and their awareness, and allow yourself to start to dream, to start to imagine a world where you love yourself and you respect yourself. And then take one step today that brings you closer. So, an actual physical action that is a reflection of the life that you're creating. Just do one thing today. And then tomorrow, do the same. And maybe you can add in another one. But it's recognition that on the days where you're tired and cranky and you don't really want to do it, challenge yourself to do it anyways. See what's possible for you. Because I can guarantee you that the next day you're going to feel better because you did it. You're certainly not going to feel worse because you did it. So, your challenge is to be the best version of you for you possible. You're going to learn how to fill your cup up. And when your cup is full, then you're finding yourself. Then you're going to discover what brings you joy. You can't do that when you're not helping you. Okay. Maybe it's reaching out, talking to someone, finding a crack in the world that you've built. Look for the cracks because there is magic and there is joy and it is waiting for you, but you have to be willing to see it and feel it. Okay. There's always people that are there that are willing to help you, but you have to want to do it yourself. And if you're not ready, that's okay. Let's plant a seed, right? But I can see I can see humanity is singing, we're ready. The souls are singing, they're ready. They're calling you to joy. They're calling you to your potential. And you can't find your potential if you're too scared to start. So today, do one thing that's going to feed you feeling good about yourself tomorrow. And tomorrow, keep doing that thing and add in something else. And same with the next day. The more you do for you, the more joy you're going to feel and experience. And then your potential for exploring expands immensely. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.